What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So, back again for a fun video with the XFL recently canceling their whole season. They effectively terminated all their players' contracts. So Monday, they'll be able to sign with NFL teams. So I thought I'd come and bring my top 10 players who should be picked up by NFL teams. But before we get into that, go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. It's always much appreciated. Much obliged. Wanted to get this one out sooner, but I actually kind of may not have looked like it, but I kind of redid my whole setup for the most part. It was mainly some cleaning and whatnot. I got some acoustic panels up and whatnot. That seems to be the phrase of the day, whatnot. But let's go ahead, let's dive in, because when you look at it, after the AAF closed down, over 50 players got signed. So it's safe to say we should see a good amount of the XFL players get that same opportunity to make an NFL roster. Now, two things to really know going into this list. The oldest player on my list is 28, so I'm definitely leaning towards players that may have big upside and could develop into maybe quality backups or eventual starters, rather than just guys that will be depth and rotation pieces to a offense or defense. And I kind of lean offense because offense is so vital in today's NFL. You're going to see more offensive players on this list. I think they're just more valuable. So let's get in. First of all, I got an honorable mention. I didn't feel right putting this guy on the list. It's safety Connie Robertson from the St. Louis Battlehawks. I'm not including Robertson because he's the only player in the XFL with college eligibility remaining. Wow, that's a word, ain't it? So it's likely he'll be scooped up in the draft. At the beginning of the season, I had a day 2 grade on him when he entered the transfer portal from West Virginia. Now, he was never in school to do school. It's kind of important to know. His eyes were always on making it to the NFL to help his family, to help his mom. So you got to kind of get into the mindset of this guy. Because he left Virginia because of academic issues. So he was going there because he wanted to get to the NFL. The guy's got a ton of skill. The XFL provided that opportunity, and I think he made the most of it. I mean, the guy has good potential. He's an above average athlete, which is really good. Like I said, I had a day 2 grade on him initially. He has incredible instincts. He's got a nose for finding the football. He can play single high. He can play in the box. He's kind of a wild card in this whole draft because I have an early day 3 grade on him, but he could easily slip into the 3rd round. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So let's go ahead. Let's start with the real list. And I got DeMarquis Gates from the Houston Roughnecks. Man, on a side note, man, I hate the XFL had to close down, man. I was not shut down because of the whole bug thing going around, so hopefully you're safe and whatnot. But man, it was really fun. I think it was kind of college-esque. It felt college-esque to me. But Gates, man, this guy, he's been flirting with NFL rosters the last 2 seasons. He couldn't make the Browns' final roster in 2018. Then he just tore up the AAF, and that led to him being signed to the Redskins in 2019, but he couldn't really stick on their roster. Now, here he is once again in a spring league, just tearing it up, destroying. He led the Roughnecks. I keep wanting to say the Rednecks, but the Roughnecks defense with 32 tackles, 2 sacks, an interception, and 3 fumble recoveries. Now, I think this guy's more of a 2-down linebacker, but he's only 24, and I think he's better than most of the linebackers in the league that are just kind of serving as depth for rosters. So I think this guy's got a. I think he's worth an investment. And then we got tight end Daron Parham from the Dallas Renegades. I got to get used to these names, man. Offensive weapons and mismatches, they're the rage in today's NFL. Parham, he isn't going to be an inline blocker, despite, he's 6'8", but he's only 237. He's a big target with soft hands. Like I said, mismatch nightmare. Judging from his combine, he looks much faster than he actually plays. But I think watching him in the XFL, I think he definitely got used to it compared to what we saw in preseason. Now, in a league with, yes, he looks good in a league with less talent on defense. I mean, he really did shine. 24 receptions for 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. 15 of those 24 receptions, they went for first downs. He kind of gives off this Darren Waller type of vibe. He's only 22, and I think he may be worth developing, especially, I mean, in a league where a tight end with receiving capabilities is so valuable. And then at 8, here's my 28-year-old. It's Connie Ely from the Houston Rednecks, the edge. This guy, he was on a lot of NFL rosters. Yeah, I think he was initially, let me make sure, a first or second round pick. Hopefully spelled that wrong. I can't remember. He was a second round pick, near the end of the second round. Been so long. But the guy, it's been a long, crazy road for him. I mean, just a few months ago, he was battling bouts with depression because of some of the stuff. He's had to take a lot on his plate with his family, but he's played really, really well in the XFL. He's racked up a half a sack with 9 pressures through 4 games. He was injured week 5, but like I said, he's been playing pretty good. He's got good size, 6'4", 275. He's got a history with the NFL, so we know he can play at that level. And I think teams will be lining up to get their hands on him, man. Especially they get a veteran minimum salary. I mean, he's going to provide good depth, and he's going to be a valuable rotation piece in the NFL, and he's kind of my asterisk in this because I think he's very likely to sign with the team. At 7, I got Nelson Spruce from the Los Angeles Wildcats. Spruce, he was by far the most sure-handed receiver in the XFL. He mainly operated out of the slot, which is wise because that's probably his role in the NFL. He can play on the outside, but I think he's a better slot guy. He's got okay speed, but he's a very fluid route runner. He's a high football IQ type of player. His game kind of reminds me of Wes Welker and Julian Edelman, but he's also kind of beat up like those guys. He's been in the NFL before, which is always positive. I mean, a lot of these guys had been in the NFL, and they kind of like flounder out. But I think he's got a real shot. He was one of the best receivers in the league. At 6, I got Storm Norden, the offensive tackle for the Wildcats. Now, NFL teams, they struggle to find quality offensive linemen, and the same is very true for the XFL. I think this guy's the only one I think I would sign among all their offensive linemen. This guy, he was hands down the best offensive lineman in the XFL. He spent time on NFL rosters being with the Lions, Cardinals, and Vikings. He isn't that athletic, but he has a sick combination of size, length, and technique. He looked very good in true pass sets, which is typically the biggest indicator for success in the NFL. So I wouldn't mind picking this guy up and developing him. Like I said, in a league it's kind of hard to find quality linemen. At 5, I got Jordan Tommy. Oh, man, I practiced this name beforehand. Tomayu. Man, I probably still butchered it. My bad. But this guy, he plays for the Battlehawks. Former Ole Miss, man. This guy, he can really sling the football. He's had quite the journey despite only being 28. That's the beauty about him. After being released by the Texans, he kind of flirted with the idea with the Canadian Football League, but he ended up landing in the XFL. He has a very unique skill set. He rushed for over 200 yards, which was the most of any quarterback by far in the XFL. He also demonstrated to be a better passer, completed over 70% of his passes. Granted, being in the XFL, you're facing less talented defenses, so you kind of got a little more room for error. Don't tell Cardell Jones that though. But he averaged over 200 yards through the air per game. He's under 6 foot, but at 214, I think in the right system, he could be pretty darn good because this guy's running ability is pretty good. So some people probably make the comparisons with him to Jalen Hurts, Oklahoma's quarterback, who's going to be in the draft. But Hurts, I think Hurts definitely has a stronger arm than Jordan, but I think he's the better. I think Jordan's the better passer at this point, and I think getting him on your squad be really good. I'm not lying, dude. I'm thinking he wouldn't be a bad guy to develop behind Lamar Jackson. He'd be pretty fun to run plays with. There's a lot of trick plays you could do with these guys, and not necessarily just like I said. This guy, I think you can develop. He's shown to progress to be progressing as a passer. So yeah, and quarterback. Guess what? It's the most valuable position on offense. And then F4. I got my final defensive player, Elijah Campbell from the DC Defenders. Cornerback, again, such a volatile position in the NFL, and you can never have too many corners, you know. And Campbell, he was a playmaker from the get in the XFL in Week 1 versus the Seattle Dragons. He blocked a punt, and that went for a score. He almost had a pick six that same game. He's got solid size. He runs, or at least when he ran in the combine, it was a 4.34. Guess what? Looks like he's retained the speed since then. He had the highest coverage grade by PFF of anyone in the XFL. He's one of my favorites, I think, to get picked up. But like, that's why I have him so high. And then I got wide receiver Cam Phillips from the Houston Rednecks. No other receiver was more dangerous than Phillips. He hauled in 31 receptions for 455 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's 6 foot. 201, so pretty decent size. He's strangely he's a good route runner, but he's a pretty good vertical threat despite the speed, which is weird because coming from Virginia Tech, they typically love to get those speed stirs. But then he goes to the combine and he runs a 4.79, I think. I know it was 4.7 something, which is that's scary. That's probably why you go undrafted, you know. So it's weird because this guy, he was definitely hitting home run, like he was hitting home run plays. He was a vertical threat in the XFL. So I mean, in today's, he's only 24. In today's NFL, in this pass heavy era we are in, it's important to be deep at the receiver position, and honestly, he should find himself a home in the NFL. And then at 2, I got quarterback Luis Perez from the New York Guardians. This guy, man, quarterback, they take the 2 spots up. Spoiler alert, you probably already know who's number 1 because it's the most valuable position on the field. Perez, he started the last 2 games for the Guardians after Matt McGloin was benched. Big surprise. But he was benched. He ended up guiding him to 2 wins, Perez, that is, and basically turning the season around for the Guardians. He's got good size, 6'3", 218. He has experience being formerly with the Rams and Eagles. He turns 26 in August, and he had the highest passing grade for PFF from any other quarterback in the XFL. I think teams would be wise to pick him up. And then number 1's PJ Walker, man, from the Roughnecks. I almost call him Rednecks again. Now this you saw it coming. This was easy to see. He's undisputedly probably the league's MVP. Completed 65% of his passes, threw for 15 touchdowns. He plays the most valuable position on the field. He's got a really good arm strength, and again, being under 6 foot, many teams might not be willing to take time to develop him, but size at quarterback's really not an issue anymore. So there's some teams that are still kind of set in their ways when it comes to that, but it's already been reported that he's in talks with like the Seahawks, and I didn't see the other team, but he should definitely find himself on an NFL roster. But let me know who you think should have been on this list and who you think is going to get signed. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. But until next time, I should probably mention I got a mock draft coming out. Hopefully Clowney gets signed because that changes things. But I should have one within Monday or Tuesday. Side note. But till next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.